Hello and welcome back to the Rouman Cinema Podcast, where we watch the top movie each week and then we come on here and chat about it. My name is Emma.
My name is Wyatt.
And we just got done watching Top Gun Maverick. First thoughts?
I am simply blown away. I've sat here for a few minutes just trying to collect my thoughts, and there's still just a jumbled mess because wow, I just can't believe what I just watched.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think this has definitely been the best movie that we've watched thus far. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. It had everything. It had the action, it was emotional, it was romantic, it was everything. It was awesome. So for a little context, the synopsis is, after more than 30 years of service as one of the Navy's top aviators, Peter Maverick Mitchell is where he belongs, pushing the advancement in rank that would ground him. When he finds himself training a detachment of Top Gun graduates for a specialized mission, the likes of which no living pilot has ever seen, Maverick encounters Lieutenant Bradley Bradshaw, call sign Rooster, the son of Maverick's late friend, and radar intercept officer Lieutenant Nick Bradshaw, aka Goose. Facing an uncertain future and confronting the ghosts of his past, Maverick is drawn into confrontation with his own deepest fears, culminating in a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those who will be chosen to fly it. Have you seen the original Top Gun?
I haven't. I didn't get a chance to watch it before watching this, but one thing I have to say is that when they called back to the original, and one thing I thought was crazy was that they showed clips from the original movie, like they interspersed them as a flashback, and I'm like, oh, so this is just a very accessible movie for literally anyone who wants to watch it. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. I have seen the first one, and the thing that I loved was the intro is the same music and the same clips, and it was just so fun that the movie kept tying the original movie back in, which I just thought was so well done, because I think when you're gonna make a sequel to a movie that was done in the 80s, so 40 years ago, I think it's important that you tribute it back to the original, because you don't want to lose that value in that audience.
Yeah, you don't want to lose what made the original so special, and I think they do a wonderful job, and I think as its own movie as well, it stands alone phenomenally.
Oh, yes, definitely. It is more special to know the characters and, know why certain things are so emotional and, everything like that. And once you see the first movie, you'll love it even more, I think. But you 1,000% can know nothing about Top Gun, walk in and watch the movie and enjoy it. There's no doubt about it. And this opinion doesn't stand alone either. Quite a few reviews, Box Office Pro. So Memorial Day weekend has often been one of the busiest periods of the year throughout the theatrical exhibition's history, and that will ring true again with the long-awaited launch of Top Gun Maverick, compounding the buzz and ecstatic reviews from critics and industry screening over the past month, as the film holds an incredible 97% Rotten Tomatoes score from 189 critics. And I think that is 1,000% well earned. I would agree 100%. It just was very, very good. A review from the New York Times kind of talks about its shift from the movie in the 80s to this one. So as far as Tom Cruise's performance, on the brink of 60, he projects the nimble, cocky, boyish charm that conquered the box office in the 1980s. Which is totally true, he upholds that character so well, where his, personality is still there, 40 years later.
Yeah, I don't know, watching this movie, it just really made me realize, oh, right, this is why people still want Tom Cruise in their movie. He has his reputation in Hollywood and among film circles now, but just watching this, it's he's still that same guy that was in the first Top Gun. He still seems like he is fighting for his spot, and he still feels like he is putting in the absolute most work. And even among all the Mission Impossibles and whatever other giant box office movie he's gonna do for the rest of his career, because that man looks like he's ageless at this point. But it's still nice to see that like he's still got that spark and that quality that makes you go, yeah, that's why he's still around.
For sure. And speaking of still around, Val Kilmer briefly reprises his role as Iceman in this movie. He has struggled with health issues in recent years, including the loss of his voice to throat cancer. And a review from NPR kind of comments on his performance in this movie. His soulful presence here gives the high-flying melodrama the grounding it needs. Cruise may be this movie's immortal star, but Kilmer's aching performance takes your breath away. And I loved his role, his small role, but I thought it was very significant, and it just goes to show that they weren't, they know the movie that it once was, and now they are honoring it in this movie, all while making an even better movie, I think.
His scene, there's one scene that he's in that's it's very much like a turning point for the movie, because that's the transition in Act 2. And so the first act of the movie is good, but in a sense it feels like it's playing the hits a little bit, where it's like, hey, it's Top Gun again. Remember the first one? Well, here's Top Gun again. But then it sort of transitions and it very much becomes its own. And, it's obviously it's still, a sequel to the first one, but it takes a different direction, and the emotional weight is very high after that. And so his performance is great, and he has such a huge part in it, even though the amount of screen time isn't crazy.
Yeah, it was small amount of time, but very significant. And the New York Times kind of comments on the atmosphere of this movie as well, that the frat house atmosphere of the 80s movie has kind of been toned down, and the pilots are more diverse, less obnoxious bunch. And, of course, Tom Cruise was incredible, but I thought the other pilots were also phenomenal, that their acting was so well done. And I would definitely agree that it's definitely more serious. It's, it's less frat housey, because he's not a frat boy anymore. Like he's
that is a grown man.
Yeah, like he's not 20 anymore. So the first Top Gun unfolded against the backdrop of a superpower conflict. There was a formidable, if mostly off-screen, real-world adversary, the Soviet Union, and the possibility of nuclear apocalypse. This time, there is a mysterious entity in possession of a super high-tech aircraft who is building unauthorized weapons in a mountainous region wherever. No name is ever mentioned, just the enemy. And the New York Times article still is commenting on this. So who or what are we supposed to be fighting? China, the Taliban, Netflix, COVID is what they say. And I think it can be a tricky line to walk when you're talking about real life events, and in particular like threats in a movie like this, because sometimes making it too specific can make the movie feel less timeless and honestly like less enjoyable and more like anxiety inducing. So
well, and if you say the name of a country, then you might not get your movie showed in that country. So I think for all intents and purposes they made the right move.
Right. And I don't think it, when I first read that review, I was a little worried that maybe it would feel a little too general. Yeah. But it's whatever, it's a matter of opinion, but I feel like the movie almost doesn't even revolve around the mission as much as it revolves around other things.
It introduces the mission because the mission introduces stakes.
Right.
And those stakes are more important than whatever that mission could be. And so they understood the importance of who, and they said they ignored it. They were like, okay, yeah, sure, people feel this way about a certain country or whatever, and we could have them fight this country, but what if we detach from that because this is about the people, and they did a good job of that.
Yeah, definitely. The New Yorker also comments on Top Gun versus Top Gun Maverick. Okay, in comparison with the sequel, the original comes off as a work of warm-hearted humanism. Yet, paradoxically and disturbingly, Maverick is also a more satisfying drama, a more accomplished action film. I mean, yes and no. I mean, the technology is advanced, so obviously it's going to be more accomplished, I guess you could say. Like,
and again, Tom Cruise has been doing Mission Impossible for like 20 years. It's going to bleed over into this film a little bit.
Right. And the New Yorker kind of says that Maverick is less a sequel to Top Gun, or it's more of a renovation of it. And
I can see that. I can see where they're coming from with that, because like the reason they didn't make a sequel to Top Gun, for however long, is because like, what more can you do with those characters with what you have? And so when time passes and you have, it's an old dog trying to learn new tricks angle that they're trying to take there, and that's what makes it like, so that's what part of the stakes are, is that like, does he still got it? So like, you need the technology to advance, and in turn you're going to have it seem more like an action movie, because you have these incredible drone shots, and you're doing as much as you can with like, just how far can you like push film technology, into the sky. Like it's going to feel like that because they wanted to go bigger and better, and I think it paid off.
Right. And this review goes on to say what's interesting about Top Gun Maverick is how it isn't like its predecessor, mostly in terms of style. The first Top Gun, directed on a relatively low budget by the late Tony Scott, combined the aesthetics of a military recruitment video. For better or for worse, the sequel is a much tamer, slicker, classier affair. And I would agree with that. I mean, it still makes the military seem fun, I guess. All these movies kind of do.
Yeah, you'll get that.
Yeah, like we said earlier, that the first movie does feel kind of like macho and, cool guy kind of. And this one feels a little less like that, to me, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then one other little fact. This is from the NPR review. The action sequences are much more thrilling and immersive than the original. You feel like you're really in the cockpit with these pilots, and that's because you are. The actors underwent intense flight training and flew the actual planes during shooting.
Yeah, I
thought that was crazy.
I've known that for a little bit, but it's still like you can watch the trailer and be like, oh, look at that, they're in a fast plane. But when you're watching the movie and you're fully immersed, it's like, oh my goodness, there's no way they did this, but they did, and that's insane.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts?
I have a few. So Rooster, Miles Teller, a brilliant performance. I mean, there's a lot of emotional weight on his character, Goose's, son. And so there's just a lot of emotional weight and a lot of expectations riding on that character, and it's like, you gotta clock in something good. And he did just what I believe to be an incredible job. I think like that might be like my second favorite performance of the year, only behind Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. I know you didn't like that movie as much, but I still hold that as my standard so far. But just a wonderful performance, the right amount of emotion to just like there's just so much, and you just have to see it to believe it. He's a wonderful actor, and I hope to see him in a lot more in the future. And my second thought, I remembered this after you asked if I had watched Top Gun, the first one, and I've seen one scene from the first Top Gun. Do you know what scene? Can you take a guess as to what scene I have seen? Volleyball.
Oh, yes.
and to all those who were fans of that scene in the original, I'm not going to say too much, but there is a tribute of sorts.
Yes, a very nice one. Comes back in a very nice way. So don't worry, that wasn't left out of this film.
They may have left some of the macho vibes, but hey, beach sports never go out of style.
Yeah, I just loved it. I thought it was great, and I think it's 1,000% worth the watch. I think it's worth a second watch. So
Might even be worth a third.
yeah, definitely. So the Bob's Burgers movie was also released this Thursday. In a review from The Hollywood Reporter, the Bob's Burgers movie effectively recreates the show's winning combination of irrelevant humor and heartwarming family dynamics, not to mention the occasional musical number to sweeten the pot. They go on to say, definitely hewing to the if it ain't broken, don't fix it philosophy regarding big screen versions of long-running television shows. The Bob's Burgers movie should well satisfy devotees. Which begs the question, when will Seth MacFarlane finally get around to making that Family Guy movie?
Have you watched much Family Guy?
My dad loves Family Guy.
Okay.
So I watch it in passing.
It's been like 20 years. Do you think they really need to make one?
I mean, if the I've never seen Bob's Burgers. I honestly know nothing about it. So I guess if this movie does well, I mean, why not? I know more people who watch Family Guy than Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
But also I might.
They have their two very specific audiences, I would say.
Yeah.
Family Guy has a very devoted fan base. So I mean, I would be interested to see where they would take it if they do decide to make one.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the thing with all these like animated shows getting movies is that like every time they have to get like bigger and better. But like the first one I can remember of this modern era is like the Simpsons movie, which
Mhm.
started off pretty big. There was a dome and Tom Hanks. So I'm curious to see where Bob's Burgers took it because it's always been a more grounded show. So, I mean,
Do you watch the show?
I catch an episode every now and then. It's a nice show. It's nice.
Are you gonna? Well, I mean, you probably have to. But are you gonna watch do you want to watch the movie? Like, are you interested in it? Are you that type of fan?
I don't know if interested is the word, but again, just curious.
Okay. Because it's a musical. I think that's really weird, but
Yeah.
that makes it interesting for sure. So as far as the predictions for the Bob's Burgers movie, the main play here is toward young millennials, Gen Zers, and perhaps some families with an animated comedy that could end up somewhat front-loaded. Reviews are highly encouraging with a 93% score from 46 Rotten Tomato critics. So that's not bad at all.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, so definitely come in to see that if you're a fan or even if you're not. And so what else is playing at the cinema? Downton Abbey: A New Era is still here. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Father Stu, and The Bad Guys are going to be playing this weekend still. So definitely come in and see those if you haven't. That's a pretty good list of good movies right there. And no new movies next week, which gives you more time to watch these two awesome new releases or any of the others that we still have playing that you haven't seen yet. Highly recommend Downton Abbey. Highly recommend Doctor Strange. We also saw The Bad Guys. I haven't seen Father Stu, but
Yeah, that one missed us, but yeah. A lot of good movies lately.
yeah, definitely. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just Top Gun. I mean, even sitting here right now, we've been talking for however long, and I'm still just like, man, that movie was crazy.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch it with my family, so because I think my dad would love it. But, yeah, so definitely come in and see Top Gun. It's worth the watch every single time, and I think it might rain on Saturday, so perfect time to come in and see it. And, yeah, thanks for listening.